Good day, everybody. This is the Ecclesiarch here. Finally, I am back again, and I am returning with some Warpforge card reveals, and this is going to be for none other than the Dark Angels. And I am sure that there are some mixed feelings about this, because there's going to be people who didn't want another Space Marine faction, but then there's going to be people who were super excited to see another one, and I know the Dark Angels have a lot of fans. Now, if you have played HHL, then chances are that you already have kind of an idea what the Dark Angels are gonna look like, and let me tell you, it might seem similar, but it is actually quite different. Now, without further ado, let's get right into it, and let's introduce a new mechanic for Dark Angels, which is probably gonna be one of their core mechanics, and this is going to be quest progression and secrets. So very Dark Angel-y, if you ask me. So what is quest progression? So basically certain cards of the Dark Angels, which include both, I believe, stratagems as well as troops, as maybe even warlord abilities, we'll see in the future, they will grant you one or more points of quest progression. This is like a resource that you accumulate. However, unlike, for example, the Sisters who need to accumulate it to unlock bonus effects, the Dark Angels function differently. For every 3 points of quest progression that they accumulate, they will add a random secret card to their deck. So these are going to be special types of stratagems which cannot be collected or added to the deck otherwise, and they can only be created during this battle through quest progression, and then when you draw them, you can play them. So this is going to be very similar to seals from HHL, extremely powerful cards, only able to be generated in game and then added to your deck. So, what are the secrets? Well, I'm not revealing all of the secrets for you guys, but I am revealing 2, and trust me, they are going to be insanely powerful. So let's start off from number 1, which is No One Must Know. So this is a 2 energy card, destroy an enemy troop and stun adjacent units. So essentially you get a hard removal for 2 energy, which is absolutely insane, because draw this and you get a basically free hard removal, and you also get to stun adjacent units. So a very powerful effect that is going to be hard to deal with for sure, and if you draw this at the right time, well, then you are going to be getting a huge advantage. But that is not the main player of today's reveals, guys, because the Obscure Ritual is absolutely crazy. It's 2 energy, refill all your energy and draw a troop. So essentially, whenever you get this, you can pull off some insane combos. It also draws you a troop on top. It's similar to the High Command from Astra Militarum, but this is just way better, just leagues better. It's just that, well, you have to draw it, so you have to get a little lucky once again to be able to draw this. Just like in HHL, if you are lucky enough to draw seals on the next turn, just like me for example, then you're going to be in for a good time. But sometimes you might get very unlucky and never draw them. But with the overtime system in Warpforge, I think it's going to be that much easier to draw this during the late game. Now guys, now that that is out of the way, let's talk about some of the ways that you can actually progress your quests. So let's start from one of the tactics, which is Hunt the Fallen. The 3 energy, draw 2 cards. This is similar to what most factions get at 3 energy or 2 energy to draw some cards. But look at this, for each troops that you draw, you gain 1 quest progression. So essentially you could get 2 quest progression just from this. Of course, in that case, you would have to build around this if you really want to do that, because if you have a lot of tactics, this usually is just going to be an empty card draw. But in any case, this is your first way of actually getting some quest progression. Now the second one is going to be an aggressor. So we have a 3 energy 3/3/4, so it has very good stats. So it's running the Triarch Praetorian stat line, but without the Vanguard and Remnant. Instead, it has Strike, gain 1 quest progression. So obviously this card in most cases is not going to be able to pull off its Strike, because the enemy just has to attack it right away, so that doesn't give you the chance to use the Strike. However, it's still going to be a threat on the board because it has good stats, and if the enemy chooses not to attack it, well then you can use the strike by attacking the enemy warlord, for example, and gain some quest progression. Now the next thing that we're going to have is the Interrogator Chaplain, 4 energy, 425, so the stats are very mediocre, but when an enemy dies, gain 1 quest progression. So I think on its own this unit is going to be quite weak, but if you use this at the right time, this could be really good. For example, let's say you're playing against Nemesor or something like that, and once the enemy plays a Necron warrior, you just drop this and you instantly gain 1 relic, because with your quest progression, because with your warlord you can attack the Necron warrior and take it out. Now don't forget that this is when an enemy dies, so not only during your turn. So every time this thing is active, you're going to be gaining 1 quest progression when the enemy troop dies. So it's a very interesting effect, to say the least. I'm not just sure how powerful this is going to be. Now, don't you think that you're only dependent on hard removal from your secrets, because we also have the dedicated hard removal of the Dark Angels, which is Fury of the Unforgiven. 7 energy, destroy an enemy troop and gain 2 quest progression. So this is very interesting, because not only is this a big hard removal, well, for high cost obviously, because this is like Inspired Retribution but for 7, but it does give you 2 quest progression. Now, maybe 1 copy of this might be very good in every deck, because you could have some big hard removal. It's not going to give you tempo, but it's certainly going to give you 2 quest progression, which means that you're going to be generating more secrets in your deck. So overall, guys, even though the cards themselves are not insanely powerful, as you saw, the secrets are crazy. So I'm no doubt that we're going to see more ways of generating secrets, and this might mean that the Dark Angels are going to be the late game faction, because first of all, you're going to be generating these powerful cards, and you're going to be adding them into your deck, which means that you're also safe from attrition compared to the enemy warlord, because you're gonna run out of cards much later. So overall, seems like a very scary faction, especially if you play the Agents of the Sigillite in HHL. So tell me in the comments what you guys think. Ecclesiarch out.